Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going into a little deep dive here of a 100-hour inspection here on MD500 of a D model. If you ever worked on helicopters or you're just curious what is required to keep this maintained, this is going to be a little clip for you. I know there's not a lot of content out there on YouTube covering like maintenance of helicopters.
Alt-air?
A little bit more of a fixed wing, but not much of here on the rotor side. So this video is here to help bring some exposure to that. This isn't just my 100-hour inspection. I do cut the video and stop recording to actually do my inspection, but this is just a little glimpse into what I do. So getting started, you saw that I was looking into the entrance of the engine. I was just making sure that the fans weren't damaged by FOD, and also making sure that that inlet area was also clean of debris, because that's just a straight hole into the engine, so we will make sure there's no debris there. Also, you saw me actuating the air bypass there for the filters. There would be filters there where that mechanism is going up and down, so if there was a filter problem, the pilot could just flip that switch and then actuate the bypass air. And now, right now, I'm looking at the tailboom to fuselage attachment points, just making sure there's no gaps there, no buckling, skin, no corrosion. This is a really big part right here. We want to make sure there's no gaps anywhere within that ring. I'm also checking that dampener where that tail rotor drive shaft is, and then also checking the pitch control rod for where the pedals are that control the pitch of the tail rotor. So here I'm checking out the attachment points of that tail boom going to the vertical stabilizer, making sure those 4 attachment points are secured, they're torqued, and there's no corrosion, also no gaps, no damage to the skin, also, or also those rivets also that you're seeing there, those 6 rivets, or all the rivets at all the attachment points, just making sure everything's secure there. Now going back to the fuselage to tailboom attachment, we also want to do a little check of the rivets, make sure there's nothing loose there, then also want to make sure there's no gap there. If there was a gap there, you would see light coming in through the inside, which I didn't see, which was a good thing. So this is just a little, that was a diagram of the maintenance manual here for the anti-torque system. That's what it's called. But this is the pitch control rod, one of the rods for the tail rotor that would be actuated by the pedals. Those pedals actuate on the bell crank, and then that bell crank moves that rod, and then that rod moves the pitch of the tail rotor. It's a little squeaky here, but we're looking for play in that bolt, as you're seeing right in front of me. We want to make sure there's no play, and if there is play, switch out the bushing, switch out the bolt. And then also just some other maintenance that I saw was the crack right there on the boot. So we're gonna get that sealed up. It didn't seem that bad to replace it, but we are gonna seal it up, make sure there's no water contamination in there. Now, next thing here is the horizontal stabilizer. So again, I'm checking the attachment points there. You can see they're marked with torque stripe, so I want to make sure that's not torn. We did end up removing that horizontal stabilizer to some wiring upgrades, but that was just a little check before we removed it. Next here is the landing gear struts. We're going to do some strut inspections here, but we got to remove those fairings, and those fairings are very tedious to take off. There's a lot of bolts, and they're very time consuming and annoying.
Landing gear.
I just took those out, and then they're part of the landing gear inspection. So right now I'm checking the actual landing gear here and making sure that that bolt is secured. I know some people can mess up that cotter key there at the bottom, and I agree with them. It's a tight fit. It's hard to do, but it is possible. So I'm just making sure that's secure, making sure that that eye bolt isn't touching the sidewalls of where it's placed, and also there's no dinks or cracks or corrosion there here on the landing gear also. So I can actually pull that landing gear fairing down a little bit just to get a quick inspection in. Right now I'm just going through all 4 sides of the helicopter, checking all the landing gear dampeners and where they connect to, and where the landing gear connects to the airframe, making sure all those bolts are secured and tight. So here I'm checking the rear landing gear. The rear landing gear is in the engine compartment, so everything you're seeing here is all engine stuff, plus the landing gear. So again, I'm checking sure that any of the attachment points have no cracks in them, everything's secured and tight, and all the attachment points to the airframe of the landing gear are good. So there I'm just checking the landing gear, making sure there's no leakage, any fluid, that the landing gear had the correct height, and also just doing other quick checks, no corrosion, and then also checking for that cotter key. So we're back now to the front left landing gear. This is from a little inspection panel on the back seat left side looking forward down. So again, this is just another angle that engineers provided to get better looks here at the landing gear. And everything looks pretty good. I didn't have too much problems here. I'm just double checking everything, which I think is a good idea in maintenance just in general. So I think that should be complete. And now I'm going to be moving to here to the landing struts, making sure there's no cracks there. Right here I'm working on the back right strut, and I'm really looking for cracks here. There's an AD out for cracks, and we want to make sure we comply with that. So I'm looking for anything like that. Just checking the paint and just the general condition of that strut. So now we're on the front right strut here, and we did find a little crack, and we don't know if we have to discard this or we're just going to follow away. At this moment, we just don't know yet, but we know we will find a solution here in the future after I upload this. Just know that it was taken care of. But we did find this, and we are going to go deal with it. So here we're on the left side of the strut, and as you can tell, they look kind of old, which is very true for this helicopter. It's an old helicopter, so we are going to see a lot of paint chipping and just old condition of the paint. What you're seeing here is a fuel control. We got a new one sent in, so we're going to go ahead and replace the one that we have with a new one. So now we're moving into the cabin area. We're going to be checking the anti-ice valve here, the pull handle, making sure that works. And surprisingly, on this helicopter, compared to all the other ones that I've worked on, this one is really easy. Just a quick little pull, and then I also go check the valve in the back of the engine, make sure everything's okay over there, not being poked or poking anything. So the anti-ice passed, but here on the cabin heat valve, you can see it's very stiff. So we're going to go fix that. You can also see that the housing around the handle itself seems a little bit broken. It seems like some of the sealant was torn off. So we're going to go ahead and seal that back up and get it ready. Now the valve is being stiff. I don't think it's the valve itself, but I think it's something in the handle binding up the cable. That valve you can see is moving just perfectly fine, but it's just the handle, and somewhere in that handle cable system just being stiff. So we're gonna go figure that out. But now we're just gonna defer that till we fix it later on here, later in the inspection. Right now, as you see, I'm checking the seat belts, making sure the inertia reels work, and they do. And then I'm also checking the general condition of the seatbelts. Seatbelts are really easy to check. And I'm also checking for the locking mechanism. So the locking mechanism for this helicopter, as you can see, is, I don't know what that's called, but they plug into the circle, and then you spin the circle, and it unlatches all of them at the same time. It's very easy. I like this one. There's other helicopters that we work on where it's a different mechanism, where it's like a horizontal latch, but this one's more of a spinny latch. So that one's really easy to check, and they all work. So I'm checking the passenger side here, and I am going to go to the not the passenger, the pilot side, check that. And same thing here. I think, yeah. The one on the pilot side has a different locking mechanism. So it's not the spinning wheel, it's more of a horizontal plug-in clamp. And the shoulder straps are in line with the kind of where the hip strap is, and you just like line them up and plug them in all together, and then to release it, kind of just like flip the latch up. So that's what I'm doing here. It was a little difficult getting it from this angle, but I did end up locking it, and then they all passed the test. The belts were good, the inertia wheels worked, so that's a pass for the seat belts. So moving here to the nose bubble of the helicopter. What you're looking at is the foot pedal support bracket, and there are ADs for this. There's ADs for the torque tube that's right behind it. It's just looking for cracks here. Everything's looking good from what I saw. It's kind of hard to see if you're going through the pilot side or the cabin side and looking down. It's kind of hard. But you do get a better angle looking at top thing if you're looking in the bubble. So I'm just looking for cracks here on the support, and it looks pretty good to me. So now I moved back to the tail for this part of the inspection, and I'm just looking at that tail rotor transmission. So that tail rotor drive shaft that you saw earlier connects to this gearbox transmission, and then that's what spins the tail rotor. So I'm looking for leakage here, some cracks. Looking at that torque stripe, making sure nothing's spun, and then also I'm going to check that torque here a little bit. But just looking for cracks and oil spills, and that's mainly just what you're doing here in these horizontal inspections, just looking for cracks and corrosion and leakage of like oils or grease. So now I'm just looking at the boot conditions, those little pitch change rods that you were seeing, those little lollipop rods, and then also now checking the blades, making sure there's no delamination here at that front abrasion strip, and also no delamination there at the trailing edge also. So there's a key there with that orange torque stripe. I have to make sure that's on securely, and it is. And then also checking those elastomeric dampeners, and I checked those by pushing the blade forward and backwards. So that was it for that. And then now I'm going to be moving here into the pilot controls. So right now I'm pushing on the lateral movement of the Cyclic. So I'm making sure that there's no playing those bolts, there's no playing the bell crank, and making sure everything is secure, that all the movements are good, and that there's no binding of anything, which there wasn't, so that's a really good thing. And then here I'm just checking everything in that center console area, just checking all the movements, making sure there's no binding, and then that's what's actually changing the pitch of the blades up above me, which you don't see right now, but with moving them to Cyclic moves all of that. And it's all mechanical, there's no hydraulics except for that one-way lock, but that's for a different explanation for another day. But everything on this helicopter is all mechanical, so I'm just making sure that there's minimal wear and making sure that all the secure points are secured. Also checking for any corrosion, more corrosion, and you'll see me here moving the Cyclic, and it'll be changing the pitch of the blades of that swash plate. So you can see the swash plate moving, which just moves the pitch of the blades. Kind of cool how it works. I just wanted to give you guys a little look of what's happening up there. So now in this part of the video, I'm checking the main rotor head and everything that controls the main rotor head. So I'm checking those eye bolts on the lateral and the longitudinal pitch control rods, and then as well as that collective eye bolt that you see there out of the floor. That last one on the far side is the rotor. But this is where the main meat and potatoes is for the inspection. This is one of the big things you want to look at. Definitely this is the biggest rotating piece of the helicopter, so you definitely want to make sure this is in good condition. So everything here, I'm checking everything, that swash plate, that stationary swash plate, and then also the boot condition, just looking out for corrosion and cracks, and also looking into the main rotor head, checking the bearing up there, the blade condition, the dampeners, and just feeling around for any play in those eye bolts, because if there's any play, we're going to have to replace those. Some of you all might be wondering if it's okay to spin the rotor by hand like you see here, and it perfectly is, because there's a clutch in the engine that allows free rotation of the blades when the engine is not in use. So here I'm checking the brightness and the instruments and the test light. So I just put the test light for the warning lights, and they all work, so they all passed. And then I'm also checking the dimmer switch here for the instrument panels. As you can see, when I bring the camera closer, I'm dimming the lights, so I'm just making sure that works. And then I'm also checking the dimmer light for the warning switches. So I do that, and I'm also checking just the security of the instruments of each single instrument and the circuit breakers. This is the auto reignite test for the engine, and it seems like it's working, just the switch. So here I'm checking the security of the instruments, and some can get loose because the screws that attach to the instrument panel are made out of brass, so they can wear out over time and become loose. So I'm making sure everything's secure. So here in this segment was actually something really interesting that I found, and something interesting that I got to work on. So pulling the main rotor brake by hand, there was a leak in that T-fitting. So we gotta remove that T-fitting, see if that was the actual leak, and it turned out it was. So we're replacing the T-fitting, putting everything back together, and then ops checking it. So it was actually really difficult to get to that T-fitting. There was a chicken wire in front of that, on top of that T-fitting. I'm gonna take that off, remove some extra hardware from that air filter. Here, I'm trying to show the crack on the T-fitting. It's there at the elbow, but I just couldn't pick it up. So this part of the video is probably one of my favorite parts here in the inspection. It's taking off the blades. It's really easy, so you're probably going to need 2 people for this. And what's really good about these blades is that they have these pins, these latch pins. The latch pins make it super easy to remove the blades and put them back on. But once they're off, we inspect the blades. There's a lot of maybes for cracks in the blades, so we're going to make sure there's no cracks, and then we're going to clean the blades, make them look good, and then apply wax on the blades so make it a little bit waterproof and make the last a little bit longer. And it smells really nice, so I really like doing this. It's very clean. The helicopter's clean. And now at this portion, I'm checking the rotor hub again, because part of the inspection of the rotor head, I have to take the blades off, and earlier in the video I couldn't do that because the blades were on. Now since the blades are off, we can inspect these rollers.
What is this, Kel?
Ow!
Fucking
stop. I just slammed the finger on the droop thing.
Hey man, don't do that, cause that hurts.
That actually wasn't that bad, but I still squished it.
So it's kind of meant to do that. It's going to push on that ring there at the bottom of the screen, and those rollers, I'm just looking for galling, corrosion, wear, cracks on that roller, and there's 5 of them, so I have to go through all of them, make sure they all roll smooth, and the face that they're striking is in good condition. So I mean, there is going to be wear, but nothing too excessive. So here we're doing a full check.
Cool kid.
Starting at 300 hour. This is 300 hour, but we want to make sure these damper checks are within limits at an applied weight at a certain point, at a certain amount of time. that for all 5 and then check that too. So right now we're putting blades back on. Really easy, just reverse the process like I did earlier. And it's really easy to put them back on. You just need 2 people again. You put those 2 latch pins in, and then you add the damper pin, which will hold the blade from leading and lagging. So sometimes people forget the damper pin, and then the blade starts leading, and it can hit something. So can't forget that lead or that damper pin.
That's it for right now. I'll see you guys in part 2 where we add the final touches to this inspection.